Well, hello again, YouTube. Happy Valentine's Day. Gopti and I just got back from the local community theater. It's our fourth time seeing shows at the community theater. So I'm going to go through and just talk about who we saw. Thought it would be fun. We saw two Beatle cover bands, and the first Beatle cover band was yesterday and today. And they had this really cool backdrop. It was two brothers. I didn't really hit it off with either one of the brothers at first. And man, these guys really ended up winning me over. And it had a real, not a, just a good sentimentality to it. They told how their father was a military guy. They grew up base hopping, military bases, and they lost their dad when they were just coming up on their teenage years. And their dad left them a spiral notebook that had all the Beatles songs, all the lyrics, and all the guitar keys transcribed. That their dad had done all that work, and they put together a Beatle band, and they're still doing it. So, my first show was a Beatlemania act. It was a Beatle tribute act called Beatlemania that was kind of a big deal back in the 70s. And I had this romantic thing with my childhood with the Beatles. So this was, and then tying in the thing about their dad, it really, I'm a sucker for stuff, sentimental stuff. And I have father issues. My dad died when I was 15. So then they ruined it. They did I'm the Walrus. And he's like, we're going to give my brother the stage now. And he's like, yeah, you know where you are? He's like doing I am the wall. Like he had these sunglasses and he was all like gyrating. Like it got all like sexual walrus. And he was all like, look at me. And I was just, it was like horrific. He was like, just imagine somebody like comically singing like a combination of King Diamond and Slash, like a cartoon voice, saying like yellow mat of custard. And like just some of the lyrics he like changed to make them more like about how sexy he was or whatever. He had like these like he had a whole thing where he like popped his collar and came out, or they put spotlights on him, and he like greased his hair back, and he was like, yeah, you know where you are, you're the walrus now. It was just, it didn't work. And the funny thing is, we saw two Beatle bands at this thing, and I was like loving both of them until the same point in both of their shows was I Am the Walrus is where it fell apart. So right after that, they more than likely they did like Hey Jude, and everything was okay. But the next show that we saw at the community college it was a magic show. It was Billy Blagg.
And it's Bill Black.
And I actually, like, I'm not one for illusion or anything. Like, I was never like, ooh, Doug Henning or who's that horrible Chris Angel, like that mind freak. Like, I am not down with any of that. But this Billy Blagg, he told the story again. It was this thing about his grandfather. He never met his grandfather. When he was 9, his grandfather gave him a box. No, he gave him a magic kit, and he ended up winning a contest and went on to be this magician. And his grandfather, but he never met his grandfather. It was like he told this whole story about this gift, and then he was like, yeah, I never met him. And then he died at this one point. But it was like, and I don't remember what the end or how it all tied in, but there was a whole thing with like this really touching story. And I'm sorry, I'm completely ruining Billy Blagg's act, but the way that he used the lighting was really cool and totally pro. He had like a color palette. There also was an aroma that he used. So this was illusion at its finest. I really liked the music, and he was very entertaining personality. And it was like he was a good guy that you could trust. It wasn't like he was an unlikable guy who was hung up on himself, or that he was acting like what he was doing was actually spiritually magic. It was like just the right balance, just a nice enough guy where he was talking about his life and like his struggles and his ups and his downs while he's doing these amazing tricks. So I really enjoyed The Magician. The second Beatles act is called Brit Beat, and they're known as the immersive Beatles experience. And I got to tell you, when they first came on, they were using like black and white images of the real Beatles. Like it was all like officially licensed photographs. And it was all of the screaming fans and like the original concerts and the black and white photographs that we've seen. And the way that they presented it was what I call the post MTV attention span. It was like article after a newspaper article coming up and like one Beatle, two Beatle, three Beatle, four, screaming girl here, screaming girl, just like bam, 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 flash bulbs and just like overwhelming. But it was still the authentic Beatles stuff, you know, it was real 1963 stuff. And then on the stage, they've got like these smart decorations. They had a street sign and it kept changing. You know, it was Penny Lane, or then it was Abbey Road at the end. I don't remember how they worked all that in, but the stage had a real lot of cool props. They had the authentic instruments. They had a Rocky guitar. They had all the right gear on the stage, and then they had the clothing, and everything was fine until they got like with the Beatles. It's kind of like Wizard of Oz when it goes from black and white to color. But this was when the Beatles took acid. And it was almost like they were paying a graphic design video production company with like an experienced staff and crew and a guy with a vision. They were paying him a real lot of money to put together this multimedia Beatles experience. And then they ran out of money right when they got to the LSD turnover. And at that point, it was like one of the guys in the band, his nephew was like, yo, dog, I just got the new Mac, MacBook Pro, the aluminum version, and I got dope software. I can do all your video editing. Just smoke me out, dog. Hook me up with some of the chronic, my nizzle. You know, we're going to smoke up first, and then we're going to get to editing the video. And they just randomly started downloading like clip art, like images of boats and stuff. And it was like it went from this authentic Beatles thing to all of a sudden it was like way too much color and like generic clip art images, like stuff that said Getty Images on it. And just like random, like maybe a strawberry with a boat on it. Like, and then it like, there was some hints of some like clowns, like scary clowns, maybe even evil clown. And then it was like they did I Am the Walrus, and it was everything about it was horribly bad. Like the cover, the sounds, the synthesizers, like everything was horrific. And they unleashed the evil clown, like Juggalo clowns. I don't know if you've ever seen this imagery, but it was really generic. It was like some kid had done it on a laptop with Microsoft Paint with a 4-color paint palette, 4 colors. And they had a clown. I'll never forget it. It was a cartoon of a clown that was it was line drawings, and he had a T-shirt, and it had the clown's name on it, and his name was Spinal Cracker, the clown, and he was in a little roller coaster, and he was going up and down this roller coaster, and he was going and they did it in like fast motion because they showed Spinal Cracker a couple times, and then they showed him in his doing his thing in the roller coaster. getting shaken with this Spinal Cracker shirt. I'm like, I will not, like, that'll be the last thing I see when I depart my mortal coil. I'll be riding with Spinal Cracker. The, the worst, like, and like most generic synthesizer sounds. And the whole time this is going on, like all the psychedelic stuff, I'm looking over at my mother-in-law, and she's like beaming. Like they're singing Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. It couldn't be more obvious. And like maybe I had taken some shrooms that day. I really don't want to say. But for me to, she's like a good Catholic. It's like, oh, it's okay. The Beatles are doing drugs as long as it's only acid, right, Mom? And then Spinal Cracker came, and like it was just like it ruined the whole rest of the night for me. It was so unbelievably bad. Like it was like I cannot tell you how bad that was. Brit Beat, that was the when I had to pay the fiddler. But and it started off so promising. We're gonna go to the Britbeat website so you can take a look at Britbeat's brand of psychedelia. Um, let's see, home. Where's the? Don't they have like
Was it the videos? They just had images, thumbnails for the. We have to go back to maybe the videos. No, where you just were.
No, there's photos is
Okay,
what
well,
I'm
I thought
trying
it
to
was
get to.
screenshots of the videos, is what I'm saying. It was, there you go.
So this is in the post MTV. Here's that street sign. You can see they've got all the like Vox Super Beetle amplifiers, and now here's where it starts really going downhill. I mean, this looks really cool compared to what I remember. Like that looks awesome. But I don't remember seeing any authentic Beatles stuff. This is what I remember. Generic clip art, like really bad. This looks awesome compared to what does that say? Does that say? I can't read what it says. Oh, there's the Rocky guitar. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm getting. Strawberry mangoes forever. And like I'm just like the Beatles never had a thing that said peace on it. So don't put that on the stage. Don't put that on the stage. This is cool. That's cool. This, get that out of there. It's just not authentic, and I'm not the right guy to judge this. But musically, they were all right. But man, they really relied heavily on backing tracks. I gotta say that. And the Beatles never used Cold Fog. That was Pink Floyd. The Beatles never had any kind of fog. You know. So again, this is what I'm talking about with this generic kaleidoscope stuff. It worked. Oh, and this is exactly like, what is this? Somebody saw Pink Floyd, the Momentary Lapse of Reason tour, with all that uh, footage Dave Gilmore shot for Shining Your Crazy Diamond that was so unbelievably cringeworthy, with the guy jumping off the diving board and then, oh, sees the pool is empty. And see this, psychedelia did not look like that in 1964. It had a totally different look to it. The Beatles were pioneers in that, and it didn't look anything like this. And that's why I'm not qualified to be the guy to review this band, because I'm not going to like anything unless it's like this. That totally works, but I don't remember seeing that. I remember seeing this. I remember seeing four guys who, uh, if you want to talk about it, was a fake mustache, and then clip art hot air balloons. But again, I am, that's just my thing is the only Beatles show that would be worth its salt would be the actual Beatles. So Spinal Cracker, I gotta say, that was the worst thing that I've ever seen in my life. Oh, they put a link to thebeatles.com. How do you like that? How considerate of you. I wish there was a way to get back homeward with Spinal Cracker. I wish I could show you this. I looked on YouTube to see immersive video reel. I'll open this in a roll up for the magical mystery to for information, go to thebeatles.com. Contact us. Oh, this is the immersive. Yeah, this is what I should have put on. And like you can see, uh, and I don't remember seeing anything like that was an authentic Beatles image that they just showed. Once they went psychedelic, I don't remember because I think they had to pay to license some of this imagery. And once that budget, they couldn't afford. See that like the Barbie font there? Did you catch that? Once they got to that Revolution font, this is not the Beatles. It's and I'm sorry if you're going to fully stage a live concert production and call it Britbeat, don't don't use the wrong font. You know, I don't know. Like I said, I'm the last guy who should be allowed to speak on this because I would complain about an actual Beatles reunion. That's how highly I regard this art. That it was of the highest pedigree, and even the Beatles were unable to reproduce the magic that was done in the studio, and who knows how that was even done. If you look at their schedule, it's oh, here's Octopus Garden. Maybe we'll get to see Spinal Cracker after all, after breaking into. Okay, good night. We're not gonna show Spinal Cracker. You have to actually come to the show to see that abomination. So lastly, there's the live concert reel. Oh, we're going to be here all night. Um, so this would be, and I wonder if I'm going to get copyright striked because these images are copywritten or something. It wouldn't surprise me. Here he's playing a Rocky Strat. Look at that. Oh, there's Paul Majinki, George Herringbone. Yeah, the Cold Flock. Jarn Lemming, and Rinkus Babickeling. They got the Vox Super Beetle amplifiers. John Lennon banging away on his Harley Benton. Yeah. That's about it. We're not gonna get to see Spinal Cracker at all. So I'm going to I'm gonna home page this, scroll down. So we're not loading. Today we saw the Peking Acrobats, and that was the best show. The music was phenomenal. They had this authentic music from the Orient with instruments that I have no idea what they were. There was a violin that sounded like a woman singing. They had a glockenspiel that was made out of bamboo that they were playing rhythmically. The all the percussion and the drums were phenomenal. They had these war drums that they rolled out and did this whole bit, kind of like a Laurel and Hardy bit, where they had two guys' personality, like the tall guy and then the chubby, shorter guy, and they were wailing away. This different personality on the drums, kind of. Um, they did do a live musical performance, which was a banjo, which is a two-stringed instrument. The guy played it with a bow, and he was making this banjo talk. He was doing tapping. He had a lot of technique, and it was so unbelievably expressive how dynamic he was with it. He was a master at playing this thing, and like I said, he was making it talk. It was absolutely incredible. Now, that's not to discount the women. The women, it was hard to tell their ages. They're all, they look very similar. They've got like stage makeup on and these stunning outfits, and they're doing these amazing superhuman feats. So it was dance and like here they're juggling plates, and then they would do contortion where they would like there was a lot of human pyramids and like feats of strength and endurance and contortionism. So there was a little boy, like a fifth grade boy, who got a really detailed lesson in female anatomy because they were like splaying and flaying themselves every which angle. This really little girl did a thing where she put her arms where her legs are supposed to be and her legs were where her arm was, and her face was on the ground. And it was like one of those things in the horror movie where they're walking on the ceiling, and I will never forget that. These dragons, they had two of them, and the one was taller. The shorter one was twerking. And then they lay down with each other, and all of a sudden a baby dragon popped out. And that was really cool how they were incorporating actual sleight of hand and magic on the stage along with the performances, because they had this act called a change of face where they had two like kabuki warrior guys with these really cool outfits. They were like black, like Taiwan kickboxing out clothes, but they had this red patchwork with I don't know how to describe it. They had like kabuki masks, and they would do sleight of hand where they would cover their face for a split second, and the kabuki mask would change colors. So it was a trick mask, and they were I don't know how they did it. It was spectacularly cool. And they did a act with a basket of eggs where they had the eggs lifted up really high and the guy was balancing them, and then he dropped them, and I was like, that's $300 worth of eggs. Ha ha ha. My joke. But yeah, I was entertaining myself throughout the entire performance. I kept saying, flip, flip, do a flip. And there was no flips. And then at the last minute of the first set, the big chubby guy ran across the stage and did a flip. And I was like, he did a flip. So from then on, they were doing a lot of them. And I was narrating every time someone would do a flip, I would yell, do a flip, flip. And that was my joke. It's like a Tim and Eric thing. So I thought I was funny. I was cracking jokes the entire time, whispering these jokes to my wife, and she was not having it. She was embarrassed. She was mad. And I'm like, we're at the circus, we're at the acrobats. Like I can like have fun with this. I wasn't being disrespectful. The music was phenomenal. They had some really cool percussion, and some of it started getting like world musicy or jazzy or like sounding like, I don't know, like Enya or like Michael Bublé or who's that, Kenny G, who's an awesome headbanger. But it started getting like, at one point they were doing like a generic fire engine riff, like da 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 da, and then it turned into this song that we used to play when with my daughter when she fronted the band when she was 4, singing for us. She made up a song called Edie, and it went like this: Edie, 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 oh. And they were playing Edie, so of course I'm singing along with it as one would, and I'm getting elbowed by my wife to be quiet. But I kept saying how I wish we would have brought Kita because they had the dragons, and then it was just cool. And I always say I wish we would have brought Kita. That's one of my things that I always say. And then they had these guys come out with these whips, and they were whipping the stage, and it was so loud. So my joke was to Donna saying, "Don't wake the mama," and then whoosh. Don't cry. Whoosh. Eat all of your food and eat it quickly. Whoosh. And then when they did the final move of the whole bit, they had these huge staffs, and they were alternately banging them on the sides of the stage, like da 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 da, going around in circles. And then they swung them around their heads, and they both came down with them at the same time and did this like crack on the stage. And right before they did that, I said, "Come and see heat." And that's this thing. Like, it was the funniest joke. I could not stop laughing at how funny it was because it was something my father used to say when he came back from Germany. Like, all of a sudden, he started, like, we'd be in a restaurant and there'd be a cute waitress, and he would be like, "Life, come and see heat." And I would be like, "What? Are you speaking German to me? Or come and see heat?" So I say this to my cat now all the time, and it means, I'm like, "Kita, like, come and eat. Come and sit by Daddy, and I'll give you a treat. I'll do the whippy. I give him this brush called the Firminator, where I work his excess hair. We call that whippy time. It's whippy, and I constantly insisting that Kita will come and eat. So I said, "Come and eat." I yelled it, and then whack, they came down with these. And boy, I cracked myself up. I made it funny. So I had unbelievably great time at the Peking Acrobats. It was the it was the best show, I gotta say. Now, I didn't go for the outfits much. During this yo-yo bit, they had these headdresses are changed. They had a thing that came up, and it had a blue ball. So they looked like pixies, and they had white with white tights with gold rings and blue. So it was like Svenskin colors. And then they had little pixie skirts. They had little like skirts that they wore here that were like they'd spin and they would go out. And those outfits with the little balls on top, they looked so cute. I was tempted to go backstage, break into the dressing room, and steal a pair of these outfits for Donna and I to wear when we do our music gig in the summer when we do our remote jams. So, yes, the Peking Circus was really something amazing to see. They did a lot of like just incredible feats of you wouldn't believe the human body is able to withstand this. It was really impressive. The music was great. The performances were great. I just, it's at some point, it's almost like the bodies are being flaunted or they're on display a little bit too much with these outfits. Like the guys came out and they were wearing like matador outfits at first, and then they were like ripping their shirts off, and the guy's unbelievably ripped, and he's like running up and down they had like a pair of ribbons, and he would climb them, and He's just like so ripped. He's got muscles on his muscles and his neck is bulging out. And I'm all like fat, just like, all the women are fanning themselves and this guy's running who just would not stop showing off. But this human pyramid thing was something to see. Oh, and this was really cool too. The whole thing was, I was on another level. I have to say, the Peking Circus, Peking Acrobats, that was my favorite act by far. Really, really cool and something you're not going to see every day. I just wish they had photos of those really cute outfits so you guys could see what I'm on about. Anyway, happy Thanksgiving to you. Thank you for joining me on this one. I know we went a little long, and that's been a bit of a thing lately. What can I say? If you're still here with me, well, happy Valentine's. And you know how I always like to end these things. Think something like try to stay warm. And it's more important that we hug our pets and peace.